Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with Mary Mac. Today we have two recipes for you because I made these things together. I thought they would go good together, so I tried them together. The first is, yes, it's another recipe for pulled beef. This is a completely different one, and it's really good. And the other recipe is for smooshed potatoes. It's intriguing sounding, isn't it? I can tell you're all just sitting on the edge of your seats out there listening in podcast land. We're going to start with the pulled beef. The reason I made this pulled beef is we live in farming country. We usually buy a side of beef and use that for our meat throughout the year. And what happens when you buy a side of beef, if you've never bought a side of beef, is you get some cuts that you really don't use, or you got a lot of stuff in your freezer, so they get like shoved around and you don't find them. So I found these certain cuts of steaks that were a little tough because we get grass-fed beef, and grass-fed beef is really good. However, it can be kind of tough, so you have to watch how you cook it. So I found these cuts of beef, and they had been in the freezer for a little while, and they weren't freezer burned or anything, but they had a little frost on them. So I thought, I got to do something with these. They'll probably taste like the freezer. I got to figure something out. So there was a good bit of them as I was rearranging things. And I said, I just need to find a really flavorful recipe that I can do something maybe like pulled beef with. So I found this recipe that I did alter a little bit, but it called for Montreal steak seasoning. If you've never tried that, it's really good. It's probably mainly like salt and pepper, I would say. However, the amounts of salt and pepper, I don't know what they do. I really don't, but it's really good. I would not use it on a steak myself because I think it would really overpower a steak, but it's good on hamburger, and it was especially good on some old round steak that was in my freezer for too long. So there's a chart that always says like you should keep beef for this long, and this you can keep beef as long as it's packaged really well. You can keep beef for like 2 years. It'll stay good as long as it's packaged well. If it doesn't look good in the package, don't use it. But the stuff that I have, the packer that we uses very heavy shrink wrap plastic, and it's like heat sealed, shrink wrapped, really heavy, and it doesn't get freezer burned or anything. So this actually looked good, but like I said, it was just in the freezer for a little longer than I like. So I'm telling you that to tell you this. You can make this with the cheapest, worst cut of beef that you can buy. So if you're at the grocery store and there's something like an English roast that's on sale real cheap, that's usually the toughest thing you can get. But if there's some kind of beef that's very inexpensive due to it not being a particularly good cut, that's the one you want, okay? So here's the recipe. You're going to do this in a slow cooker / crock pot, and this is intended to cook all day. So like 10 to 12 hours on low, 6 to 8 hours on high. You want this to cook all day long because you're going to be shredding this. So what you want to do is get 2 to 3 pounds of a beef roast of some sort, the cheapest thing you can get. Or like, for example, if round steaks were on sale, you could use round steaks because they're sometimes not very nice, and you could get those and make a really good thing out of them. You know what I'm saying? So
get yourself some bad beef.
Get yourself some bad beef out there. And so what you want to do is take your beef, you want to trim it up pretty good. You can leave some of the nicer fat on it, but you don't want to leave like the gristle and things like that. So you want to trim it up kind of good, leave a little bit of fat on it. You're going to need 2 tablespoons of Montreal steak seasoning, 1 to 2 cups of beef broth. I say this because it depends on how much juice you want in your final product. So if you want something to be like a French dip, then use 2 cups of beef broth. If you want to just do pulled beef with it, pulled beef sandwiches, or you can use this for a variety of things. But if you just want to do pulled beef and you don't want to have a lot of juice on it, you want a little bit more intense flavor, then just use 1 cup of beef broth. 2 tablespoons of
Worcestershire? Worcestershire.
2 tablespoons of Worcestershire. Thank you, pronouncer.
I can only help with some languages and accents.
I'd like to introduce my pronouncer, Anna McAnellen.
Hello, my name is Anna McAnellen, and the word you're looking for is Worcestershire.
Use that word in a sentence.
The word you're looking for is Worcestershire.
Okay, and you'll need 2 teaspoons of either onion powder or granulated onion, and 1 teaspoon of either garlic powder or granulated garlic, a half teaspoon of kosher salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of regular black pepper. That is your mixture that's going to go into the slow cooker. So, cut your beef into several smaller pieces, and like I said, trim if there's an excessive amount of fat on it or anything that looks like it could be gristly, trim that off. Place your meat in the slow cooker. Pour in your beef broth first because you don't want to wash all your spices off, which is what always happens. So pour in 1 cup of beef broth. You can either use canned beef broth or you can use bouillon cubes or granulated bouillon dissolved in a cup of water. That'll work fine. Now you're going to add your
Worcestershire.
Thank you. And sprinkle the seasonings generously over all of the meat. Set your cooker to cook on low for 8 hours if it has like a timer. Okay, and like I said, if you want it to cook on high and be done in like 6 hours, set it on high. But set it on low to cook for like 8 to 10 hours. You can check it occasionally and spoon the juices over the meat. And then your meat's going to be done when it shreds easily. So, once your meat begins to fall apart in there, what you want to do is very carefully remove the meat from the slow cooker, but leave the juice in there. And I always put it on like a big platter. Let it cool so that you can handle it, and you can go then and remove any fat or if there's a bone or anything like that that you need to get out of there because you want your meat to not. I don't like to have fat on it when I'm going to be making a sandwich out of it. So you want to very carefully shred your meat. You can use 2 forks or you can wear kitchen gloves like the vinyl gloves, you can use those and shred your meat with your hands and then return that to the broth. And what I do is I press it all down into the broth so that it's all covered good, and then let that go until you're ready to serve it. So in order to serve this, you can either use hard rolls if you can find them. I wanted to serve this on hard rolls for New Year's Eve, and guess what? There were no hard rolls to be found anywhere. There were rolls that looked like hard rolls, however, they were not hard. So you can use hard rolls, which are very good to use with this. Or you can use I ended up using a small, like a sausage sandwich bun. And then what we did, we put the meat into the bun and topped it with provolone. And then you can melt that under the broiler a little bit. And you can even put some of the juice in small bowls if you want to dip it, like a French dip or something. But just with the provolone, you don't even need like a condiment. This meat is so flavorful. The juice is so flavorful. You don't need a condiment. Just put some provolone cheese on there. Actually, you don't even need that. And it's delicious. It's really delicious. We also found out, because this ended up being about 6 cups of pulled beef. It was a nice amount. So I put the leftovers in little freezer bags, and we've actually used it for taco meat, which it was really good for taco meat, oddly enough. And then we've used it in wraps, put some spinach and some of this meat warmed up in there and some jalapeno peppers and some onions and tomatoes, and it just makes a really good wrap too. So this, like I said, this is a great recipe for a terrible cut of meat. So if you're like me and you have some old beef in your freezer, or you have something like some heinous looking, sometimes when you get a side of beef, you'll get a thing and you'll be like, what the heck is this? I've never even heard of this cut. Seriously, that is not a joke. So sometimes you'll get meat like that. And one time we got cubed steaks and they were terrible. So I actually made shredded beef with those also, because they were like, they were really weird texture, very weird texture. Did not like those. So we made those into pulled beef. So if you have that problem, or if you have a friend who buys sides of beef like me, call them and say, hey, what kind of weird stuff do you have in your freezer right now?
I feel feel like that's a good thing to just check in with your friends every so often anyway. Like, hey, what kind of weird stuff you got in your freezer? Just in general, you know.
We just-
got any strange vegetables?
It's like a conversation starter.
Been storing anything really strange in there?
This is good. I really like this. I mean, you know, I've said before how much I love doing things in a slow cooker because I'm gone from my house for like 10 hours a day. But this is a dandy because the meat stayed really nice. It was very nice and moist. Like I said, very flavorful. And I just had it on low all day long. I mean, it was on low all day long. So it worked perfectly. So that's good. And another thing with this is when I did this for New Year's, I actually made it the day before, got it all shredded, put it back into the crock pot and, you know, put the juice over it. And then I took plastic wrap when it had cooled. I took plastic wrap and pushed it down on top of the meat to like seal that and put the lid on the pot from the crock pot. And because mine is a lift out and most of them are now. And I just put that in the refrigerator. And then the next day, in the afternoon, I put that on low again and reheated it for our friends coming over. And it was fantastic. So great make ahead thing. You could even make this ahead and freeze it if you wanted to. Very nice, flavorful make ahead pulled beef. This is my either third or fourth pulled beef recipe. And I think I'm done. We've been doing this podcast for 10 years. It's going to happen.
There's going to be some repeats eventually.
Now for the second recipe. This is something that I call smooshed potatoes because what you do is you smush potatoes. If you don't know what smush means, it's sort of like smash but softer. So we're not smashing them, we're only smushing them.
It's a little more than a squish, but not a full smash. It's a smush.
So what you use for this is you want small potatoes about the size of a golf ball, not those little teeny expensive potatoes that are actually the ones that they used to sort out and not sell to anybody.
So not fingerling potatoes.
Yeah, which are the teeny potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
But what you want to do is use like golf ball size potatoes. So lately, about the last few times I've gotten potatoes, half of the bag has been golf ball size potatoes. And I think it's hilarious because I picture someone in a sorting room sorting potatoes going, one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these, and putting them in, you know, until they make weight, which could possibly be how it works. I mean, it sounds entirely reasonable to me. You can make as many as you want for this. It seems like we usually have like 8 or 10 of them when I do this. So you want to leave the skins on. You want to scrub them, clean them really well, remove any bad spots, or if there's little eyes on them or whatever, cut their eyes out.
You're being so cruel to the humble potato.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
You're going to cut its eyes out and then smush it?
Okay, and you want to cook the potatoes. So you have there's 3 choices you have here. You can either boil them, which if you boil them, you want to boil them for about 10 minutes and check them to see. You want them to be moderately soft, but not super duper soft. So you can either boil them, you can bake them, which would be, wash them, prick each potato with a sharp knife, put a little salt on them, wrap them in foil and stick them in the oven. Usually I like to do that with something else, if I have something else baking, throw the potatoes in, and they'll take like an hour in there. Or my handy dandy baked potato shortcut, which is I take them, I prick each potato with a little sharp knife very carefully, put them on a microwave safe dish, and I'll put them in the microwave for like 1 minute, roll them around a little bit, put them in for another minute and get them nice and hot. And then I put them in foil, sprinkle them with some kosher salt, wrap them tightly in foil, and I'll put them in the oven at like 350 for a half hour. Bring them out and let them cool in that foil until they're cool enough to handle. This is how you do this little project. I've done this we have a Camp Chef griddle, and I've done it on there with like a lot of potatoes. And that went pretty well because it was pretty easy to flip. So you can either use something like a griddle, or you can use a nice heavy skillet, a nice size heavy skillet. And you want to heat your skillet or heat your griddle to medium heat, a nice medium heat. Now, while your skillet is warming up, you can take your potatoes and put them on a big baking sheet maybe take a little bit of olive oil, sprinkle the baking sheet with a little bit of olive oil, sprinkle a little salt and pepper on it, and take your potatoes and set like one at a time. Put your potato on the baking sheet and take a pint jar or a drinking glass that has a slightly concave bottom, like a pint jar has a concave bottom. And that's what I always use. But if you don't have one of those, a drinking glass that doesn't have a real flat bottom works well too. And you want to carefully smush the potato until it's about a ½ inch thick. Use like constant pressure and just, press it down. That's like a ½ inch thick. And the little sides will crack. If you go nice and slow, it'll like stay in one piece, but the sides will be cracked a little bit. It'll stay together, usually. When you get them, like smush them all, and now your pan is heating, you can put some olive oil in your pan, and it should be nice and hot in there. And you'll have your salt and pepper, sprinkle that in the olive oil. And very carefully, I usually use a spatula when I do this, very carefully lift up your smushed potato and set them in the pan and let them fry until they're nice and crispy on that side. And then very carefully turn them over and let them fry until they're nice and crispy. Like you want the skin to look browned, and be very nice and crispy on the other side. And they'll look like little badly shaped hamburger patties. but so very carefully take them off and put them onto a serving dish and serve these with like sour cream to dip in, or you can use ranch dressing with some Frank's Red Hot, couple dashes of Frank's Red Hot mixed in, or whatever you like dipping wise, and just dip those. You can either dip them or dip them with a fork and eat them. They are really good.
I have a question.
Yes.
Could you, since you're making these with the pulled beef sandwiches, could you put one on your sandwich on top of the beef? Like putting French fries on a sandwich.
I don't know if I'd put them on top, but you could put your pulled beef on top of these and eat them with a little fork, I don't know.
In the sandwich, though.
Well, you could, I guess.
That's what I was wondering.
Well, I guess you could put them in the sandwich. If you put them alongside of the beef, you could do that. Or you could use them for a bun, 2 little potatoes for a bun and put your beef in the middle, possibly. Or if you don't eat meat, you could use that potato as your patty inside your sandwich.
So much
with
starch, but you know what? That sounds
cheese.
like great comfort food.
Yeah, with some cheese on it or whatever. But these are really good because they actually because they're cooked, but I prefer doing them with the baked potatoes because baked potatoes, once you bake them, when you bake a potato, they get very fluffy inside. But when you let them cool, they kind of solidify into they morph into an actually different, I don't know what you would call that. They're a whole different being. And they stay together really well when you smush them. So when you fry them, you can they're almost like holding, I don't know, they're almost like holding like a potato pancake or something. But they're very crispy and flavorful. I love them. I mean, when the reason I did them the first time I did these, I bought a bag of potatoes from an Amish market. And all of the potatoes were I bought a 5-pound bag of potatoes and they were all golf ball and smaller potatoes. They were teeny. And I said, what the heck am I going to do with these?
Smush them.
So that's what I did. I was having some people over. I was planning on making potato salad and I thought, there is no way. No way am I doing that. So I made these instead, and everybody loved them. I had a couple different dips, and people really liked them a lot. So these are like super easy. And like I said, they're almost like a hash brown or like something like that, or like a tater tot or something, without all the extra additives in them. But they are really good. So if you have a small potato problem, if you have a problem which includes bad meat and small potatoes, this is the podcast episode for you. This is the one that you're going to treasure forever because this is it, man. This is it. And like I said, if I have a lot of friends who have relatives or children or whatever who don't eat meat, and they're always like, I never know what to make them. This is a perfect thing, because if you had a variety of dips with this, like ketchup, and if you had vegan ranch dressing, or you could take mayonnaise and add hot sauce to it, or even just mayonnaise is good for dipping potatoes in, but you could get all those things. You'd have a lovely thing for someone to eat that didn't eat meat. And that, I enjoy eating this sort of thing. So There's your two. There's your two. Oddball. Here it is.
If you're checking your freezer for all the weird things you have, and then you go over and check and be like, oh, there's all those potatoes I forgot about. What do I do with them? This is the dinner for you.
This is it. Yep, this is it. We've saved you. We've saved you.
You can put that trip to the grocery store off by one more day.
Yes, this is like a $25 meal. I'm telling you, it's that good. It's that good. So I hope you give it a try. Because these are two things that I make a lot because I really like them. So give it a try and let me know what you think. And we'll have this up on our social media with pictures and all that stuff for you to look at.
And make sure to check us out online on social media at Mary Mac Bakehouse and on our website, marymacbakehouse.com.
Thanks a lot for listening if you did. And if you didn't, too bad for you.